Good afternoon. Welcome back to United TV. Latest Manchester United news, and some of the stories we're going to be talking about today, I think, are quite worrying for Manchester United. And it does seem to be. I know there's going to be a lot of negativity on social media regarding anything Man United do, but we are starting to see a lot of stories where Manchester United, we fail to get the top targets. We then go for cheaper options. I don't mind the players we signed. And then you look at the issue. I do think we need extra depth, extra quality in the squad. And if this is true, and we're looking at Laurie Whitwell talking, we're looking at sources from The Athletic, and we kind of joke about this as fans. Sometimes we joke about it and say, who's going to look good in pre-season? And actually, probably about 2 weeks ago, Helgi, myself, we're looking at pre-season matches, and we said, right, who's going to look good in pre-season, and is there going to be a bit of overhype about him? And the question regarding Mason Mount is not going to be about Mason Mount's quality. It's going to be about availability. He's played less than half the games available to him since he joined Manchester United. And I think for a lot of us, Agati injured, Casemiro gone. I think Ericsson not replaced, Toby Collier allowed to leave in the summer as well. That it doesn't feel like we're getting enough people in. And if Manchester United are looking at it thinking we're going to get a left back instead of a midfielder, I just think that it seems crazy that Man United, we need to get a left back and we need to get a midfielder and we need to look at the striker situation. At the moment, Xerxes is the only available striker at the club and he is nowhere near good enough. So there's a definite concern that Sesko misses a decent amount of games. Where's the backup for him? So we're going to go through the stories. And I did see a story this morning saying that Manchester United have signed a world record deal with Betway for their training shirts. And the question is, okay, Man United signing these big deals, yeah, great, fantastic. If anything, though, it just makes me more annoyed that we're spending about, I think, 80 million euros net at the moment. So I think it's good that Man United have got money coming in, but you need to start spending that money on fixing the first team reasonably soon. Also, we will be looking at the Lewis Hall situation that Man United do want to put an offer in, it seems, but I get the feeling that we're going to be seeing. Are we going to be seeing in 2 weeks' time? Are we going to be sat here saying Lewis Hall's too expensive? So if Man United are not going to spend 60 to 70 million pounds on a midfielder where pretty much most midfielders cost that amount, are we going to be prepared to spend 60 plus million if that's what it takes to get Lewis Hall? Or are we going to be looking at the Racing Santander left back who, let's be honest, until about an hour ago, I'd not heard of this target. So there might be an alternative left back target we're looking at that's going to be a cheaper option. And we'll look into that as well. So I'll go for some comments and questions. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Please click the thumbs up as well. And we're kind of neutral. I don't have agendas against particular players. This is kind of general frustration about how the club is run at the moment. So I'm trying to be positive, but I'm kind of being tested a little bit. So I'd like to see a bit more. I'd like to see Michael Carrick given a bit more backing by Manchester United, and I don't see that happening. I think at the moment, a year ago, we spent pretty big for Ruben Amorim. We spent decent amount on some good attacking players, which addressed a lot of issues. We got a very good goalkeeper into the squad. I'm just hoping we can do something similar with midfield, left back, and maybe centre back situation and striker. So it does feel like we're still nowhere near where we need to be. But again, I don't want to be too negative. So if you got some questions or comments or any positivity you want to push out there as well, please get that into the comments. And if you're not on the Discord, then please join that as well. So I'll go for a few comments, and this won't be in any order. So if you just joined the stream, I'll see the comments from now on. So just post some thoughts on this one as well. Afternoon to you, Tommy says, I've just read this morning that Newcastle are digging their heels in, saying Lewis Hall is not for sale. So we'll address the Mount situation in a second, but maybe you can let me know what you think about the Mason Mount situation. I think he's a good player, but I think to rely on him, he's played less than half the games for Man United. So you'd imagine next season we've got, 50, 55 games. Are we going to see Mason Mount start maybe like 25 matches, maybe 25 to 30? There's still a lot of matches that Mason Mount won't be playing in. And I think that at the moment we're also Kobe Mainoo does miss matches from injury. Santos, we're kind of asking a lot for Santos to step up and be our first team player week in, week out. I just saw this, like, honestly, don't even joke about it. Don't even joke about it. You never know. You never know what could happen. But in terms of like the Lewis Hall situation, I did see something just before I started streaming, and I thought to try and give you guys as much information as I can see out there, is that Manchester United considering making a bid for Lewis Hall, but Newcastle, like Tommy said in the comments, Newcastle are saying that he's not for sale. And okay, Newcastle have generally put prices on players, and they put £100 million price on Tonali, that got paid. They rated Gordon at like 70 million plus, that got paid. And I think Bruno Guimaraes is probably going to go for the amount they want, if not slightly more, possibly. They might get slightly more, but that seems to be a bit of a standoff between um, at the moment between Arsenal and Newcastle. But in terms of this, Manchester United looking at trying to get Lewis Hall, and I think Lewis Hall, I did say, might be the next off, no, might be the next player Man United sign if they do go for this deal, and potentially £60 million might be what it requires. That might be what you have to offer to get this deal done. But I'm wondering whether Newcastle are going to be digging their heels in. They've sold a lot of players. They don't really need the money at this point in time. They've got a lot of money coming in. I don't see Lewis Hall actually forcing his way out, despite what a few sources have been saying. And are Man United going to seriously bid that sort of money for a left back? Are they going to spend 60, 70 million pounds, which is probably what it's going to cost to get him in? And I can sit here and say I think it's a good deal, or people can say they think it's not the best deal. But the problem is going to be is, will Man United shift to a cheaper target? And as fans, like let's be honest, I'll put the story up. I think I saved the picture of the story. So I've seen this. Man United might shift towards this player. And to be honest, I've got no information on him because it's new to me. I saw this probably about 30 minutes ago, just before I was finalising the stream and setting the title. And okay, so this guy might be a cheap alternative to Lewis Hall. The question I've got is going to be, okay, right, is going to cheap alternative to Lewis Hall, never played in the Premier League. Are we going to be doing the same sort of thing we've done in the past, where we get Alex Telles in and go, right, here's another player that's never played in the Premier League. How can he do? It just feels like a cheap option. And again, this might be an excellent player. I do not know at the moment. Like I said, I've seen this story literally less than half an hour ago. So I don't know a lot about this player. I don't know how good he is. I mean, Saint-Maximin's worked out pretty well, but I think a lot of people will be looking at it thinking, it's going to be like another one that this is a backup to Luke Shaw, isn't it? With the idea that hopefully he improves and is good enough. Whereas I think Lewis Hall is actually an alternative to Luke Shaw that can bench Luke Shaw. So for me, there's a big difference between potential and people that are going to improve our first team. Santos improves our first team, but also has potential. I think Tielemans is definitely a squad option. I think Sander Berg would be decent, but not exciting. And the question we got now is like, how many of these players that we're going to buy this summer would displace players from the first team last season? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're seeing a big push in the right direction as well. But let me go through some of the comments and see what you guys are thinking. Just to reiterate, say regarding, I'm not even sure how you pronounce his name because I've never seen it spoken about. But left back, 19 years old, playing La Liga 2, very talented. But again, I think very talented, but one for the future, isn't it? So I think this is the sort of signing. This is a bit younger than Dorgu as well. So this is like a player that, like, Dorgu was playing at least in top flight in Italy, and we knew what Dorgu could do. And we saw even Dorgu, it's taken probably about a year to get up to the sort of potential to be an impactful player in the first team. So I think if this player was signed, then we would probably be seeing, maybe we wouldn't see much of him, I don't think, until the latter part of next season. But this would be, I don't know, it feels like the not sort of deal Man United really need. Santos, I think Santos is one for the future. I would just say I think that he's good enough at the moment, but again, like, definitely one for the future. And again, it's not going to be, Santos isn't the sort of player you buy to try and win the Premier League next season. But I think like Santos deal on one side, I think Man United should be looking to get. So say like Tielemans is quite experienced. I would be looking to get someone like, where's the statement signing, like, because Mason Mount. No disrespect to Mason Mount fans in the chat. There's nothing wrong with Mason Mount, but I think most people acknowledge that if he plays 3 or 4 games in a row, we would all be genuinely surprised at this one as well. So we're acting more like Everton than Everton. I mean, Everton signed Hayden Hackley for a bargain price, and so Everton did a deal that Man United fans said, "Why don't we do?" And no, at the moment, Manchester United are certainly we're getting good players in. Like, but what I mean is like when I say good players in, I want Man United to sign extremely good, like borderline elite players. Like if you look at someone like Eddie Anderson and you look at Semenyo and Gahey, we're looking at players that Man City sign. Man City aren't signing players that are going to be sat on the bench or fighting to get into the first team. These are players that pretty much walked into the first team and take the team to another level. So I do get the feeling that it's going to be, yeah, a bit like this one. Mount will be fine. The 15 games he'll be fit. I mean, the thing is, with Mason Mount, I think Mason Mount's going to play like you said, maybe about 20 games, possibly. That would be my expectation. And I think some people are saying, can he do a Luke Shaw and be fit the whole season? I just don't think he can. And I think we're asking too much of Mason Mount. At the moment, my stance with Mason Mount would be if we could loan him out, I would have done that deal. And I don't think, for me, it's kind of a bit like Lewis Saha, where Lewis Saha was a great player. I think a better player than Mason Mount, in my opinion, in terms of what he brought to the team, but he could never stay fit. And for me, it doesn't matter how good you are. Like Ledley King, for example, however good you are, if you can only play like one game in two or three, it's not ideal in the squad. Like we don't have the biggest squad, so we need to get a few more people in to get that depth for sure. One thing I saw, which again, I'll go through another news article I saw, which is not going to be particularly great for Man United fans. This is kind of the story as well. I don't want to mention Rashford too much, but Marcus Rashford, this is like Man United not able to sell Rashford, it seems. And some of these stories and quotes, I'm just going to say this. I think they're basically trying to set up Michael Carrick like with angles like this where there's I don't know if Michael Carrick's actually said anything about Rashford or Mason Mount or Luke Shaw, but I think a lot of journalists are setting up hoping that Michael Carrick fails, and if he does fail, they're going to blame him for Man United not signing players. Which, given that I have no Michael Carrick agenda, I think Michael Carrick did an excellent job last season, and I think most fans said, "Let's see what Michael Carrick can do." But you've got to give Michael Carrick the tools to get the job done. You've got to give Michael Carrick some signings to give him a fair shot. Like the difference between last season and this season for me is so much more difficult. And it's not that the Premier League or the Champions League is going to be significantly more difficult, but when you've got an extra game as a week, Michael Carrick can't play the same 11 every single week. He's going to have to rotate. He's going to have to switch players out. He's going to have to cope with more situations like we had when we had to play. I was trying to think who we played as as a centre back, and maybe Yora's going to play more as a right back in times when it's required. Maybe we're going to have to, if we don't get a left back in, we're going to have to maybe move Dallo to left back, or we're going to have to. So I get the feeling whatever happens in the transfer window, Michael Carrick is going to have to make some, I don't know, difficult decisions in terms of like which players does he push out position, because anything he does do will be scrutinised by a lot of people in the fans. And I just get the feeling that is he going to be given a situation where it's going to be very difficult for him to succeed? I hope that's not the case. I think I've got a lot of faith in Michael Carrick, what he achieved last season. The question is going to be, how much help are Manchester United, Ineos, the Glazers, how much help are they going to give Carrick? Because he's going to need a lot of help. Going from, look at Newcastle last couple of seasons, one game a week, absolutely fine. Get into the Champions League, it's a disaster. And Newcastle, we wouldn't look at them and say they've got a shit team. Most of the players have gone for pretty big money, but they struggled massively with two games a week. And look at Spurs, they do well in Europe, almost get relegated. And we see the same situation regarding other teams that Nottingham Forest did quite well in the Europa League, but they were in a relegation fight most of the season as well. So it's not ideal, is it? So let me go through a few. So go through your comments, see what you think. D Hex says Carrick is scapegoat number 5. I mean, there's been a few, isn't there? I think some managers you can say didn't do the best given the resources that at their disposal. I think at the last season though, like Michael Carrick showed what he can do over half a season, one game a week, and I think fans were a bit divided on whether we should go for a different manager. But now that we've got him, I think most people are going to be, let's see what Carrick can do. But I want to see him backed, so he's actually got enough resources to try and get the deal done. Um, When I saw this, I can't remember what I was looking at. I was looking at something where actually it might have been fantasy football. And I looked at the app on my phone and I was looking at all the people listed as midfielders in Manchester United. You look at the players listed as striker, there is very, very little to choose from. You got Xerxes, Sesko. If we're not going to get a backup in, it's going to be. And to be honest, I'll say this. I think most fans I know are not going to be on Carrick based on what happens this season if the transfers aren't good. That's going to be, I think, something that we don't always agree, but I think a lot of fans are going to be saying if Carrick doesn't get a good window, then it's going to be difficult to see him improving significantly. Helgi says, even though I didn't want Carrick, I back him and want him to do well. Prove you wrong. Do you know what I was saying? I was thinking the same sort of thing. I'm a bit more positive about Carrick than Helgi is, but I was thinking like whatever happens with Manchester United, ultimately the head coach, manager will be deemed responsible by the club if results aren't great. So if results are dreadful, Michael Carrick's going to struggle to keep his job. That's just how it is in football these days. And I don't think Ineos are going to be particularly giving him a lot of leeway if Man United fail to finish in the top 4 or 5. If we start dropping down the league, Michael Carrick will be blamed by the club. I think for the fans, maybe it's a bit different this season. I think the fans are looking at the football we played last season, seeing improvements, but questioning like where can this team go? What can Michael Carrick do over a whole season? And I think it just feels like as a fan, I just want to see Michael Carrick given at least at least a decent amount of help from the board, from the club to say, look, right, Casemiro's gone. He was an important player for you last season. And we know that the squad was a bit thin based on a lot of players left the year before, didn't get replaced. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get you we're going to get you 3 midfielders, a left back, a new centre back, because at the moment we've got Lisandro Martinez, incredibly injury prone. We've got De Ligt actually not available at the moment because he's recovering from surgery. So I don't know when he's going to come back. But again, he is also quite injury prone. And Harry Maguire, again, he has injury issues as well. And this is our centre backs. These are our 3 experienced centre backs. And I think Lenny Yoro and Aidan Heaven, they definitely need some leadership besides them because they're still very young in terms of like Premier League experience. And I get the feeling that Man United are probably not going to go investing in the centre back situation. So I do get the feeling that over the season, Michael Carrick's going to have to make some very bizarre lineups. And when we saw Mazraoui at centre back, it worked in one game, but I don't think we want to be seeing that for too many games as well. And say setting up Carrick to fail, and I say like 2 or 3 injuries. If the injury is to a goalkeeper and the injury is to someone like Santos, who like Santos has come from trying to force his way into the Chelsea team to suddenly it's almost like feels like he's a key player now. And if Man United lose Sesko, we're effectively just putting a non-striker into a striker position. So for me, that's a bit of a concern. But again, I can see why people might think that we're being a bit overly negative, but there's just a lot of issues in the club. Mark's saying it's going to end in tears. I hope you're wrong, Marks, but I can see why people are thinking this as well. I mean, the thing is that if I said like where Man United actually fine and we don't need to improve, I think the only thing you could say is probably like left wing. We've got actually quite a few options now at the club, and that seems to be one situation Man United want to buy a player in, which I think is a bit crazy. And maybe at the moment, if we're going to have Dallo staying and we're going to have Mazraoui staying, right back is probably okay with Yoro able to fill in there as well, and the goalkeeper's fine. But again, Lamens needs to make sure he doesn't get injured at all. No, but in terms of these ones, I think if you're looking at, say, De Ligt and Martinez, you probably say combined between those 2 players, you're looking at like one season. Like, are they going to be able to play half a season of football each? I would be surprised if that's the case. But I mean, hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll have to see. Go on this one. Um, Jim says we need at least 3 more players. Can you see them doing that in the time left? So, which positions are you thinking, Jim? For me, Man United need a left back. We definitely, in my opinion, we need another midfielder, and I think we need a backup striker as a minimum. Like we can't go a whole season having Premier League, Champions League, with Xerxes as a backup. Like Xerxes should not even be on the football pitch for Man United. If you put Xerxes on, then it's weakening our team. Like he carries no goal threat, does he? How can you go a whole season at Manchester United and score about 3 or 4 goals as a striker? I mean, that's pretty rubbish. Um, but I think in terms of this one, so I would say that based on the signings we've done, I said at the start of the season we need 6 signings. And at the moment, I'm saying that we've got Santos and Tielemans. So I think we've got 2 signings in. And I would say we need another midfielder, which would make it 3, a left back, a backup striker, and a centre back. For me, that feels a bit like what we need to get done. If we do those deals, then I think at the moment we could sit there and go, actually, Michael Carrick's been backed, and it's not the end of the world. Um, Welcome Curtis. It said there's no options in this team. It's down to the bare bones and trying to get some of the kids to bulk up the numbers. I mean, if Man United are actually looking at trying to bulk up the numbers by putting academy players into the first 11, then that does seem to be a big gamble as well. I would say if anyone's capable of doing it, I think like with Carrick and the coaches, like we did see maybe a bit of reliance on more experienced players, but I don't really mind that. I think instead of throwing academy players into the deep end, I think that's probably makes a lot of sense. So, but I think that if people are thinking Lacey and JJ Gabriel and all these players are going to be coming in and suddenly amazing in the first team. I think it's really like JJ Gabriel is just starting. As far as is he still 15 years old? So to have that sort of pressure on these players is ridiculous. Lacey looked very good in pre-season, but again, I think you need to bring him through quite slowly. But I think these players are very promising players for the future. But you don't throw academy players in and go right sink or swim. Like that is not sensible. I don't think Michael Carrick would do that either. I don't think Michael Carrick would throw academy players in unless he thought they were definitely ready. And even then, I think it would be a lot more measured. So I think at the moment, if Man United buy a couple more players, I don't think we're going to be seeing academy players play loads of football, but we'll see. BHU Gaz, I got back on Saturday, so I did a stream on Sunday. Yesterday, I had builders at my house, so I didn't do anything yesterday. But no, hopefully back for 1 p.m. from now on. But hopefully there's going to be more news, Gaz. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to, I don't want to be sat here moaning for an hour, but I will try and go through the news and stories. But the Mason Mount situation, just a quick question to people watching. What do you think if Man United don't sign another midfielder? Like, are you happy if Man United go, right, we're not going to sign another midfielder? We've got Mason Mount. We've got, I think, who is the other guy coming through? Thwaites coming through, who people rate as highly as well. You got Santos, you got Mainu, and you got Tielemans. So you got some options there. Like you have got, and I think a lot of people were probably thinking, right, where's going to be our elite midfielder? Because I think we've got a lot of good options, but we don't have one that stands out like a Too Many or Elliot Anderson or Jude Bellingham or some of the top midfielders in the world. So I think that's the question mark. We might actually have an okay midfield. I'm trying to be generous here, but it does rely a lot on Santos playing a lot of games, Kobe mainly playing quite a lot of games, and Tielemans having a big impact as well. He'll be expected to bring a lot of experience when we're playing like European matches as well, I'm sure. But would you be happy if Man United went, actually, no, we're happy with midfield and we're going to go for a left back instead? I mean, for me, it depends on which left back. If we go for Lewis Hall, then I think a few of us can go, okay, whether you think Lewis Hall's worth that much money or not, if Man United spend quite big on a left back they think is good enough, that might appease some people. But I said at the start of the window, we've got to get another midfielder in. So I'm going to be massively disappointed if we don't get a midfielder in, and I'm not going to change my stance. Like a couple of months ago, actually maybe a few months ago, when we were talking about transfers, I said 3 midfielders, and for me that was the biggest priority. Like if we sign 2 midfielders, my next priority is another midfielder. Like we need to make sure our midfield is competitive with the top teams in Europe, and that's something that we used to have so much depth where you'd have like Bex, Giggs, Scholes, Keane, and you could argue each one of those players was, if not world class, extremely, extremely good. And at the moment, I think we got some players that they're good players, but they're not going to strike fear into the opposition teams, are they? They're not going to be. You're not going to have someone like Keane in midfield destroying other opposition team. And I just think, right, where's the energy and aggression in our midfield going to come from? And, and so I'm trying to be positive, but it's very difficult as well. It just seems to be that even like with Tillemans, how many games is Tillemans going to be impactful for over the season, and how many games is Mainu going to miss from injury? We need to make sure we got not just enough midfielders, but we've got to make sure we got people on the bench to change games as well, and we got competition for places. It's really like crazy, isn't it? Um, Also, Helgi's saying we haven't sold. We did actually sell. We did sell Rasmus Højlund. I know that deal was like kind of agreed a while ago, but that player did go out. So we did get that player sold. But Agate would have been sold, wouldn't he? If he could stay, if he'd have stayed fit for one more game, I think he would have gone. And the other question mark is going to be Xerxes, and will Xerxes get sold? I don't know. I don't know. He might get sold. If Xerxes doesn't get sold, though, I just can't say. If Michael Carrick was honest and you said, like, Michael, right, what sort of impact is Xerxes going to have over the next season? I think Michael Carrick's probably just thinking, just get him sold and let me buy a striker that's going to have a goal threat in every game. That's the backup for Sesko or some competition. Because at the moment, I don't know. I think you could pull one of the ball boys onto the pitch and he'd be just as much goal threat as Xerxes. So I think Xerxes needs to get sold. And nothing against nothing against Xerxes' personality or effort. He's just not good. It just hasn't worked out, has it? But good to see you, Rob. Good to see you, Rob. Um, yeah, no. To be honest, actually, that's not. That's probably quite accurate. The Man United seem to give youth an opportunity, but they give an opportunity by basically just throwing them in at the deep end when we don't have other options. I mean, I think Marcus Rashford started. Didn't he make his debut because Man United actually just run out of strikers and run out of forward players. And I think the same has been said of like Kobe Mainoo got loads and loads of games because Man United literally had no other midfielders, and that is poor, isn't it? That's been happening for years. And if Man United throw Thwaites on because we don't have options, I'm going to be so disappointed in what's happening at the club. I mean, I still think that some of these players like will be good enough to do something, but it would be a bit ridiculous. So let me go. If anyone's got any comments and questions, we are live for like another 30 minutes to go through anything. RK says each transfer window we only get the bare minimum done, and so it has to be deliberate. Do you know what? I think a few of us, like when we saw Man United doing signings last year felt like the first kind of full Ineos transfer window. They had all the people together, and I thought they made good transfers. Like last season, we got Cunha, we got Emblemo, we got Benjamin Sesko, and we got Lamens in. They're all good signings. The only question we had was like, why didn't you get a midfielder in as well? And then we saw stories in January about Man United wants the menu. Man United were linked to Gahey a little bit in terms of like interested, but unfortunately didn't go anywhere. And now we're seeing a situation where Manchester United, we've had loads of time to prepare. We tried to get Belieber about a year ago. We've had loads of time to think about which players we want to get our short list, get our targets, meet with agents, discuss with players, etc., etc. And then the transfer deals we do, like Tielemans and Santos, I think is a long-term plan. Tielemans feels like we didn't get Edison. Shit, okay, Tielemans is available. We get that deal done. And it felt a little bit reactionary in terms of like, okay, we messed up with, or Edison just failed his medical, but maybe they also thought Tielemans would be a better option. And there might be something more to that. We don't know. But this feels a bit like a transfer window that hasn't been planned. That apart from like maybe raiding academies where we got the young player from Spurs, I think we were trying to raid Man City and Liverpool's academy as well to get other younger players in. The Santos deal, I think, is something Man United have been planning for a while. We tried to get him a year ago. And apart from this, like, where's the plan? Like, a lot of journalists are assuming that too many is still a potential deal, and even though he signed a new contract and does not want to leave, it's just a question like, what is the plan? Like, we've had so long to plan for this transfer window. We did nothing in January. What are we actually doing? Like, if we wanted to get Lewis Hall, as somebody, I can't remember, someone in the comments said, if we wanted to get Lewis Hall, why don't we get Lewis Hall done like a month ago? Like, why did I go on holiday and come back and there was still literally nothing happening? Like, Gordon's gone, Tonali's gone, Bruno Guimaraes is almost gone. Newcastle are selling everybody. Like, don't think Newcastle want to keep all these players. If you pay the right price, if Man United offer 60, 65, Lewis Hall's probably gone. Like, Newcastle can say what they like, but they're a selling club. They need the money. They don't have the turnover that other bigger clubs have, so they will sell assets if you give them a decent price for it. It's crazy. Big up to you, Jeff. Good to see you, Jeff, in the comments. Hope you've been having a good week. I think Tielemans is a good signing, Andy. I think he's a good signing, but I think Michael Carrick needs more. I think he just needs more options over the whole whole season. Danny B says, remember they said they were not doing anything in January because they were going to go big in the summer, and say 12 months they had to plan the midfield. It's a joke. Do you know what the thing that's a joke is? If Manchester United thought that transfers were suddenly going to be cheaper, given the change in the rules, given how much more money, if you look at it, how much more money is in prize money for the Champions League? How much money is the Club World Cup generating players? Manchester United themselves, we announced a record deal with Betway. We're getting more money in for from our sponsors. Every club is getting more and more profit, more and more revenue in. So if you think transfers are going to suddenly have peaked and come down, why the hell would they come down? Like, transfers are getting more and more expensive, and we're seeing average or not great players go for 50, 60 million pounds. How did Man United think that some of the midfield targets were going to be quite cheap? Like, if anything, if you just look at a graph of transfer fees over the last 20 years, they only go in one direction. Every single season, players are going to be more and more expensive. And Man United should have known that. And if you miss out now, you just pay more in the long run. If you make a few bad deals in one year and you have to fix it in a couple of years, you're just going to be end up spending more. There's literally no incentive to delay doing deals. They're just going to cost more. And I think we were saying this in January. Get some deals in January. Make the summer a bit easier. There were deals to be done. They could have done Edison in January if they wanted to, and maybe he would have passed his medical then before he got injured. And maybe it have made the last season a bit easier as well. But I agree, Danny. It's a complete joke, isn't it? And I do think some of the issues as well, like De Ligt had injury issues, Lissandro Martinez had injury issues. So these injury issues are not anything new either at all, are they? So these all the problems we got at Man United are literally the same problems we had a year ago. No, none of this should be a revelation to Manchester United's owners, because it's certainly not a revelation to fans. If we rely on Mason Mount, I mean, I hope it works, and I think Mason Mount, if he can play 40 games, I'll be amazed. But it will definitely benefit the team. But I think it's a big gamble on how many games he can play. Cody says they keep hoping for some late deals, which is why they're keeping their powder dry. They want to have reserve funds for the midfield. Do you think there is a midfielder that can be procured towards the end of the transfer window that is going to be a massive upgrade on what we got at the moment? Like, which players are going to be moving clubs that Man United can sell? Is there going to be some massive domino effect with Rodri being prized away from Man City? I don't really know what the situation regarding Rodri is at the moment. I think City fans want him to stay. Real Madrid are obviously rumoured to be making big moves in the transfer market. There's also links with other players as well. But is something like this going to be? Is there going to be someone that suddenly does end up at Manchester United? Because at the moment, I think in terms of like Man United's midfield targets, I don't think I've seen anything new that suggests we've got another option. Like Kone was a player that 2 or 3 weeks ago we were supposed to be making an offer for him. Nothing happened regarding this one, and as Real said, yeah, it went quiet. Too many does not want to come. Like too many doesn't want to leave Madrid. I can't see any situation where too many wants to leave. I mean, I'm trying to think of any other ones. Maybe Camavinga is the one player that might get kind of forced out of Madrid, but again, I don't think he wants to leave, so I'm not sure if that's going to be feasible either as well. Um, Yeah, as I say that, Gaz, yeah, no, that was one player that was talked about, Gaz. I mean, I think that Camavinga potentially wouldn't be as expensive. Some question marks over some injuries. Still a young player. I don't know the specifics of whether that would put off Manchester United or not. I mean, player having a few injury issues and then having an absolutely fine career has happened as well. So again, I don't know, but he is one player that is probably the most. I'd say if a player leaves Real Madrid, he might be the most likely. Like Camavinga might be the most likely, and if Camavinga is forced out of Real Madrid, maybe at this point in time, maybe Manchester United is not the worst option for him. You get Champions League football, get a chance to prove yourself in a big club. But no, I don't know whether that's feasible or not. So again, I don't think Camavinga wants to leave. So it is a bit annoying. But all I would say, I would never lie to people and say we're going to get these deals done because players don't want to leave Real Madrid. Camavinga doesn't want to leave. Gareth Bale never wanted to leave. I'm trying to think who else. And too many certainly does not want to leave. So these players do not want to leave the club. Big up to you, Sky. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate that. So big up to you. And just apologies, people, as well. I don't normally rant and complain through the whole stream, but I've kind of hit the wall a little bit because when I went on holiday, I was just expecting things to happen, and I did say that I'm not a panic. No, I'm not going to panic about football, but I'm just getting frustrated that we're starting to see. It feels a bit like excuse FC, doesn't it? We've gone from being interested, and now we've gone past being interested, and now it feels like we're just trying to sign. It feels a bit like Man United are like, say you're playing FIFA, and for some reason you've accidentally given Manchester United the budget of Scunthorpe, and they go, right, now you've got to do some deals. And it feels a bit like we're working where we think we're the poorest club in the world, or we're saving huge amounts of money, like we're saving huge amounts of money for this mythical transfer at the end of the window. And do you know what I'm thinking? Do you remember last season? No, big up to you. Do you know what I was thinking last season? Do you remember last season Man United went to get Belieber? I think Brighton never entertained a sale. I think people threw numbers at it, just hopeful. And Manchester United apparently, again, I don't know if this is credible, but Manchester United apparently wanted to pay 60 or 70 million pounds. And so we had that money then. We had apparently 60, 65 million to get some menu in January. And then suddenly it comes to the main transfer window of the year when we need to get deals done. And suddenly it's a bit like Man United have we've gone out to the restaurant and we left our credit cards at home and we're kind of sat at the table going, oh shit, what are we going to do? And we're looking in our wallet going, got a couple of notes, but it's not going to be enough. So I'm going to have to compromise on what I have to eat. And it feels a bit like Man United for some reason. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know what the reason is. Or if we're saving up to try and get too many at the end of the window, then I don't want to be too negative, but I think that might be a really bad idea. That I think to try and get too many to join Man United, it's very risky. And I'm still saying that it's almost no chance because too many doesn't want to leave. If it does happen, then we'll do the stream. We'll go right. What the hell happened? How have we got? How has this happened? But Helgi says, like I said earlier, backup striker, third midfielder, left back is not. It's not an I want, is it? It's like a Manchester United need. Like which club goes into the transfer? No, which club goes into a professional season of the Champions League with zero backup striker? Like, can you imagine if Man City get Holland injured? Do Man City go, okay, Holland's injured, maybe Turkey can play striker, or maybe we could push Rodri forward as a striker? No, Man City don't do that sort of nonsense, do they? We don't see Arsenal going, oh, maybe we can play like I don't know, let's push players into random positions. We don't have. They've got enough depth everywhere. But this isn't about me wanting the most expensive toys. It's about just wanting an actual a jigsaw piece with like all the pieces there. I just want to have the right players in the right position. So having no backup striker for me, it's a bit embarrassing. Like Xerxes is not a backup striker, so having no striker and having we don't really have a backup goalkeeper, do we? I suppose Darlow does count, but at the moment Darlow's injured, so you couldn't really make this up. Um, and I think also there is no backup to Luke Shaw. Like maybe a Mass could be that player, but I get the feeling we might loan him out. And if we are going to sell a Mass for £5 or £6 million, then I don't know what to say. And if we sell Gore for 1 million and Wheatley for a couple of million, like how can we sell academy players for peanuts every single season? Like it would, and I hear that Toby Collier is available as well. How much money are Man United going to want for Toby Collier? Because again, if he was at Chelsea, I bet he'd be getting way, way more money. So let me go through the comments so it's not just me ranting. Again, I'm trying not to rant because that's not kind of how I am normally. Emsky says, I saw this coming when the board gave Carrick the job, so they never wanted to spend. And I think with this, like there may be some truth in this. There might we don't really know, but in terms of this, a lot of people were saying online that now would Carrick be demanding more? I don't think so. I don't think Carrick would be demanding too much. I think that's true. But with this one, again, with Manchester United, if they sack Michael Carrick, they've then got to go through the whole process of getting a new manager in, new head coach, new coaching staff. It is expensive, so whether it's going to be like Michael Carrick might not be the most expensive manager to have, and his coaching staff might not be the most expensive, but having a season where you suddenly try and replace the head coach halfway through the season, it's usually disruptive, isn't it? Okay, last season things weren't going well, and replacing the head coach actually was massively beneficial. But it's not sensible for Man United. Like most clubs that have sustained success, apart from a few anomalies, you generally want to see. You could put this argument in there. Man City won the league before Pep Guardiola went there. They were winning the league. They were in a title race most seasons. But when Pep went there and they had longevity and planning with one head coach, one manager, they had more sustained success. They reached higher heights. They got the treble done. And it's the same as like Man United that going through loads of managers, when you get one that works, you want to stick with them. And I'm not saying we should stick with Carrick, whatever happens, but it seems a bit naive to assume that managers are just instantly replaceable. I mean, they are, but there is a financial cost and there is a disruption to the season as well. And I think it seems crazy that if you're going to save money by not spending huge on an elite manager, at least back Michael Carrick. I mean, Michael Carrick might be a top quality manager, but we need to see it, don't we? We need to see that the last season wasn't a fluke. And I would be also, I would be reluctant to say Michael Carrick is like, the best option for Man United. We don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen. If he did manage to get, say, with a couple more improvements in the window, if Michael Carrick got, say, an improvement on league position or matched third and did well in the Champions League, I would be looking at it for going, right, okay, he's done a really good job. You've got to back him. At some point, you've got to back him the way you backed Eric Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim. But don't back them blindly with like crazy signings. Just back them sensibly. I think most of us are sat here going, just make the just spend the sort of money you were spending in previous seasons, but just spend it better. Like Elliot Anderson is a better use of the money than Agate. Like Agate was half the price, but he was like is literally a quarter of the player. So buy sensible. Santos is a sensible deal, but why not get Santos and somebody like Anderson, who would be like one that's going to be already there in the first team, hit the ground running. Santos can be there, forcing his way into the team as well. And I think most Man United fans would have been really happy with that. And I think when we see other teams doing deals, like Chelsea is spending money like they got a transfer ban coming up, which maybe they have. Why aren't we actually competing with them as well? So let me go through a few of your comments as well. Big up to you, Nicky. Good to see you in the chat. So Gakpo staying at Liverpool, Savinho. One of the things I saw actually, Liverpool got some issues, some different issues as well. With like they might not be able to sign too many non-Premier League players, so they might be only looking at English players as well. So this is like how they did not back Moyes in the transfer window when he was manager. I mean, I think Moyes joined at the wrong time as well, didn't he? When Moyes joined, then a lot of good players retired, and there was just no plan at all. United Tadai says because Ineos are idiots. I mean, I'm going to judge them on what they do, and at the moment, it's not looking amazing, is it? Helgi says it amazes you that Ineos Glazers are so crazy about saving money, while at the same time they are going to overspend at the end of the window and not on their top targets either. And say it doesn't make sense. Do you remember that Newcastle's transfer window last season when Newcastle spent a lot of money on not great players, like not great targets, and it made them a lot worse? So I think if you're going to get a bargain, then you can get some bargains at certain stages of the transfer window, but you're always going to get a better deal at the start, surely, aren't you? Like Man United got Edison agreed for like a certain price. We got Tielemans because it was a release clause. Santos, I think, was I don't know. Once Elliot Anderson went for 116, maybe Santos would have been. He could have edged up in price as well. If you think Alanga and Gittins were £60 million each as well. But I agree, Helgi. It's like you spend the Matheus Fernandes money on Matheus Fernandes, or you probably spend the same amount of money on a slightly inferior player. It's just a bit annoying, isn't it? No, I did see a link. I don't know if it's true, but Bradley Barcola linked to Liverpool. Apparently, PSG want 150. I would love to see that deal happen for that sort of price. I don't think he's as good as some of the other players at PSG, but he is very quick. But he's for me, he's like quite similar to Gakpo. He'd probably just score against Man United, but not have a great overall impact. It's a bit frustrating overall, isn't it? Yeah, I think Mata was signed a bit past his best. Fellaini, I don't know. But when Fellaini becomes like your go-to option off the bench, there's some issues at the club, don't you? Yanni says United could be waiting on the Champions League money, which will arrive at the end of the window, which brings me to like kind of this like thought process. Do you think Man United are looking at trying to do as cheap possible deals, as in like, okay, let's get in what we need, but let's try and do it as cheap as possible. So if you think about it this way, so Manchester United, we extend Maguire's contract. So for me, that sends the message that we haven't identified a player to replace him, or we're too cheap to buy a player that is good enough to replace him. But it does give you a bit of thinking time, I guess. But it does seem like not the best option. Like the best option would have been find a player that can do what Maguire does, better, younger, less injury prone, and get him in. Because I think you can't let Maguire leave without replacing him. That would be insane. And then the same with like Luke Shaw. Like I don't think Man United are going to sell Luke Shaw, but you have to look at it and go, what are your two options? One is going to be you buy a player that benches Luke Shaw, or you buy a backup. So in the past, Man United have gone right. Let's play Amrabat at left back. Let's play Dallo at left back. Let's get Harry and Mass in for a couple of games at left back, or you get um, Alex Tellez, you get Regulon. I mean, we've gone through so many different players that are going to be like a backup left back. And why don't we just go for the approach? Let's just buy a better football player than Luke Shaw. Let's just buy somebody that is going to be a replacement for Luke Shaw, and then we won't have to like faff about with signing like five, six players on the cheap, hoping they work out. And last year's another one as well. In the end, we end up wasting the same amount of money and having less effective players over like a 3 year period. Why not just spend the money, get a replacement in for Luke Shaw? I'm not saying it has to be Lewis Hall, but that's an example. Pay the money, get a player that's going to be Luke Shaw's replacement in the first team for the next decade. Forget about left back then. Don't have this nonsense of playing like five or six different players in left back position if Luke Shaw's injured. And I think with this player at the moment, this is the sort of signing you make and you make another signing. Like this is the sort of signing you make if you're going to sell a Mass and you think a Mass is not good enough. Like this would be a Harry and Mass replacement for me, and it would be a backup to Luke Shaw. I don't think he'd be walking into the first team. And are Man United going to be in danger of doing too many of those sort of deals and then find it pretty tricky? So let me jump through the comments as well. So on a positive note, you look forward to the briefs on the 1st of September of how we're going to spend big in the January window. Do you know what I'm thinking, Helgi? I'm gonna make a crazy prediction now. The last few days of the window, what we might see is that the window will close, and then we'll see a story about Man United were so close to getting, and it'll be like Valverde or Tchouaméni or Camavinga, or if we don't get another midfield signing, there'll be some story about Man United was so close to getting like an elite midfielder. They just didn't quite manage it, but they're going to do it in January. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. Let's say, I think with this one, the good thing about YouTube and football fan channels is it does give a voice to football fans, and you can say what you want, obviously within reason, and you can, discuss things that ex professional football players. Let's be honest. If your job is to go on Sky TV, there's probably some things you can't say, and at least on here, you can pretty much say what you want, can't you, within reason? And so we will ask if we sell Cesco, what are we even doing here? Like, I don't think we would get that sort of amount of money, but crazy. Jim says, I don't know how they think they're going to get. How do you pronounce this? Is it a G or is it J or it's like Salinas? But as an alternative to Hall, by the time they know Hall is not coming, he will have gone to Barcelona. I think also I think that Salinas actually prefers a move to Barcelona as well. So this feels a little bit like we're targeting a player that doesn't even want to join Man United, which is not ideal. Howie says the plan is obvious: spend as little as humanly possible to make Champions League spots every year until the stadium is finished, then sell the club. Maybe it seems like they're trying to do. It seems like they're trying to get the club to be as profitable as possible, and by that it's like an accountancy thing where you keep the running costs low. You're not spending big on this. I think with a stadium though, if you consider how much the stadium is going to cost, and it's going to cost maybe what 2 billion, 2.5 billion, something like that. Maybe we're going to see a situation where Man United look at it and go, okay, let's. Why can't Man United just get some sponsorship to cover that cost? That there's so many different stadiums, and again, it can be a short-term sponsorship deal. I think people would be definitely prepared to spend 100 million a year, maybe even more, to sponsor the stadium. Why not pay for the stadium that way? Certainly pay for like at least the lion's share of the stadium that way, and then because to me, having a new stadium, okay, or refurbishing Old Trafford, either way, one of those has to happen. But you can't compromise on being a shit football team for that amount of years. Barcelona, I saw the rebuild of their stadium when I was on holiday, so I was kind of nearish that area. And Barcelona are going to be opening their stadium next season. It's going to be 110,000 capacity. At the moment, they got 60,000 capacity, so they're going to be playing in there next season, but it's not going to be fully finished. And they were playing in the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona until that was being finished. But Barcelona, Champions League final, lifting La Liga, they're not. They're building a new stadium. Okay, they've got a lot of debt at the club, but they're building a new stadium. It's not ready yet, but they're still winning trophies. Like they're still winning trophies. Are Man United going to be doing like a don't win the Premier League title for 22 years like Arsenal because we're building a new stadium? That shouldn't be happening. But I can see your logic, Yari, and you might be right. But it just seems to be so unambitious, doesn't it? Gaz says fans have zero interest in the new stadium. I think so. I think that's true. I think yeah, most fans like we just want to watch football. Like we just want to. And to be honest, when I've gone to Old Trafford, the reason you go there is to watch Manchester United win a football match and to watch Man United play entertaining, exciting, attacking football. You don't go there for like the facilities. I mean, if you did, you probably wouldn't have gone because the facilities weren't amazing. Um, Almac says we should never buy another old player again because it goes against our net transfer spend figures. And so look at Man City; they buy mainly young players. I think actually, I would say, Al, I think we are mainly buying younger players, aren't we? If you like, Santos is younger. I think the player we bought from Spurs obviously is pretty young. Tillemans is like obviously a bit older, but again, a few years younger than. I think Tillemans was bought because he was cheap, right? And I think they had something they had in mind. They were going to buy one more senior player. I think you've got to get some experience into the squad, and maybe Tillemans is going to be that one guy. But again, 35 million for Tillemans is not big money, so I don't think Man United are going to spend much. I think what we'll see overall, Al, is that the transfer window clearly we're going younger and younger players. So RK says, or yeah, all Man United fans want is to do, you know, to just play attacking football and to look at this as well. So we have turned into Arsenal says United side die. Um, I think I'll say this like let's let's reserve judgment. So the season's going to start in a few weeks' time, and based on like we're going to play PSG on I think it's Saturday is going to be the next preseason match. I wouldn't read too much into preseason, but maybe Michael Carrick's going to have more time with the players, and maybe we can judge how the team play next season. So I would say we definitely we'll do calling shows every match. We'll do post match stuff as well. So we will be like we can scrutinise them next season. I think for this one because I think give Carrick pre-season and then see what he's doing. So Ian says the owners have to go. We will never be challenging season after season like we used to. No, that's kind of the next step, isn't it? Like, no, I don't think anybody gets excited. Like, I don't get excited that Man United finished third. I am quite enthusiastic about getting back into Champions League, though. And that's something because I want to see Man United being benchmarked against the top teams. If you're old enough to watch Man United in the early 90s, you'll remember 1994, Stoichkov, Romario, Haji playing for Barcelona, and they ripped Manchester United a new one 4-0 in the new camp. And that, for me, just you get to see where your team is. Like finishing third in the Premier League, great, not in a title race, boring. Let's see how we do against teams. And again, I'm not talking about PSG on Saturday because that's not a competitive game. But get into the Champions League, hopefully get to the knockout stage, hopefully play some big teams, and then we can look at it and go right now. How good are we? Where are we? Where so at the moment, I think at the moment it's difficult to benchmark where we are. Um, Brandon says we play in the Champions League. I don't believe in cheap buys. So are you saying that we should be spending a bit more on transfers than Brandon? I mean, I do think Man United should be getting a few. I don't mind getting like some of the signings we've done, and I think in terms of stock in the academy, great. That's really good. Um, if PSG trashes us, they'll open the wallet. Because it's pre-season though. I don't think we're going to see anyone getting trashed in pre-season. It's going to be. I think Man United actually look okay in pre-season. Maybe some of the players we were playing. Maybe our pre-season's a bit more advanced. That we looked a lot sharper than Atletico. So I wouldn't read too much into pre-season as either. Big up to you, Bilal. So I will be wrapping up in a few minutes, and I think about an hour is the most I can do when there's very little news. Bilal said, "I expect people to turn on the ownership." I think most fans are. I think most fans are this way inclined. So no one I know ever likes the Glazers. Like the Glazers, we don't talk about it every single stream, but it kind of goes without saying. 100% of people that are Manchester United fans want the Glazers gone. I think Ineos was like a maybe 50-50 a year ago, but I think fans' patience will only go so far. When you see a lot of cost cutting and then you don't see investment in the club, and when you see a Betway sponsorship deal and not see investment in the club, then I think you're going to start scrutinising those things, aren't you? Start going, right, if Man United are starting to make profit and Manchester United are getting big sponsorship deals, and we're getting very big sponsorship deals in, and the Champions League money is going to be flowing in, you start looking at it and going, all right, why is our wage bill third or fourth in the Premier League? Why do Man City spend like about 30% more than us on salaries because they're getting better players in? And why is Arsenal's wage bill higher than ours? And again, I'm not saying we should get the highest wage bill, but it does indicate that Man United didn't get Anderson, didn't get Mathis Flanders, they didn't get, say, Gahey, they didn't get Semenyo. And a lot of these comes down to, okay, one, we're not in a title race, but two, we're also not offering the same sort of salaries. And that does have to change at some point. But there will be occasions where Man United will have to spend a bit more to try and get these. And Kenny says Glazers and Ineos out. Nicky says the same sort of thing. Yeah, Garte is not available. Like is out for most of the season, isn't he? Bilal says, yeah, Ineos out. So United says some of our fan base. I would say I think most people that I think with our fans, like, do you mean online fans? So I think most people watching this channel have no confidence in your. There's a bit of patience, I think, for some of us, but I think a lot of people are looking at it thinking, right, like, how are we backing Michael Carrick? Michael Carrick had a tough job coming in mid-season, and getting third was a great achievement. But other teams are going to be wary of Man United now, but we did well last season towards the end. So I'm not expecting any easy games. I'm not expecting teams in Europe to be giving us any quarter either. So it's going to be difficult. And I think a lot of our fans are, well, the fans I speak to are just generally pissed off, like really disappointed. Yanni says, I know we'll be doing well next season. But if we get Bruno, yeah, no, if Bruno decided to go, we'd have big problems, wouldn't we? Big up to you, Matty, in the chat as well. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I would say this from as a Man United fan, I'm going to be backing Michael Carrick, but I want to see Michael Carrick backed by the people at the top of the club. So Michael Carrick is, but don't kind of get drawn into the agenda that Michael Carrick is saying I'm fine with his signings. Like Michael Carrick has got, Michael Carrick can't say too much against his bosses in the same way that when Ruben Amorim spoke out, he got sacked. So we're not expecting Michael Carrick to say things against the Glazers or Ineos, but as fans, we can certainly say as much as we want. And at the moment, I think if you got a problem with the way things are going at Man United, you got to look at the people at the very top. That it's the ownership that are not going to be giving Michael Carrick the opportunity to do what he needs to do. Yeah, no, I think people want. So I'm not even saying we need new toys, but I think when some of the old toys are retiring, we need to make sure we've got enough people in the squad. Like if you look at it, the thing that's frustrating me is it's not that I want a shiny new toy, Yardi. It's that I want a credible backup striker. I want a credible backup goalkeeper. I want there to be people on the bench that can impact games, not see five academy players with prospects and hope. I want to see players that can come in, impact the match. When you saw England play against so England playing against Argentina, I went quite heavy on Tuchel because we had players on the bench which I thought could impact the game and keep the pressure on and keep England in a winning position against Argentina. So if Michael Carrick makes decisions where I look at the bench and go, "There's some good players there. What are you doing, Michael?" But I think we need to see those options being put there by the Glazers and Ineos. We need to make sure that we have got a good 11 and some good options as well. And at the moment, one thing that's really difficult to say is because it's like the 4th of August now, the transfer window hasn't closed. We've still got like another 3.5 weeks, and I agree with you, Kenny. You're 100% right. At the moment, Michael Carrick has not been backed, but that could change. We could have a situation, but things need to happen quite quickly. But we could have a situation where we go, actually, no, he has been backed. But as things stand, it's a no, isn't it? He hasn't really been backed. So final few comments. If people want to get some comments in, please get them in quickly. Al says, historically we spend 200 million a year. You expect we're going to spend a similar amount this window. I'm not sure people will be happy with that. If Man United spent 80 million pounds so far, and if we spent 200 million pounds and maybe a bit more because we're going to get some sales, hopefully, we got the money from Rasmus. And if Man United got a left back, another midfielder, a centre back, and say a striker, I would go, okay, right, fine. That's again, they don't have to be crazy money. We spent about 80 million pounds so far, so 120 million pounds. If we spend like 60 on a left back, I don't really mind. We still got like a bit of money to spend, but we've got to spend it sensibly. Like if we're not going to get a centre back, saying United Dice we need essentially another five positions there. So I would probably say, look, if Marcus Rashford's staying and we got Cunha and we got Dorgu, we got Lacey, like we got enough of options for that one. Yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll do that one. maybe tomorrow. I'm going to try and do a stream about 1 p.m. or like 12:30 p.m. that sort of time each day for about an hour to cover the news. This evening there will be a stream hosted by Jules, which will be another opportunity to have a discussion about anything Man United related. I'm not sure who the guests are going to be, but I think Jules will be trying to get guests on as well. So that's probably going to be like a 9 p.m. start if Jules is hosting. Sorry I couldn't do a stream yesterday. There was just a lot of stuff happening and I was quite busy and sorting other things out. And when I checked the news, there was literally nothing I hadn't said about a month earlier. So I just thought, what is going on? Um, let's say this has made sure, in your eyes, Carrick has been backed since he is saying nothing. He is demanding nothing. So I'll leave it on this for you, Yali. This is a story that I said I'm not going to be again. Let's see what happens with this one. But again, do we know if this is exactly the case? So Michael Carrick has said, reportedly has said that he's happy about Marcus Rashford's return, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see, Yali, that maybe what we're going to see what happens next season. And so yeah, it does seem to be that this is kind of like a few things. As a summary, if Agate leaves, we get some money in. That's definitely a way of getting some money into the club and would be another player signed. Marcus Rashford, if he leaves, he would have been replaced as well. So I think the frustrating thing is, okay, Marcus Rashford can play football, but Agate can't because he's injured. So we should have sold Agate a year ago. We should have sold Xerxes a year ago. So the fact we kept these average players for too long is a bit of a problem, isn't it? As well. Yeah. Maybe Michael Carrick thinks he's going to be back in the team. Real. Maybe Michael Carrick's going to be back in the team. He could probably do a better job than Agate, put it that way. We might have done that. We might have done that. We might have done I was making a joke to like Cake on a post earlier saying that it's like a new signing, isn't it? It's like a new signing. Like Mason Mount playing 3 games in a row is like a new signing, isn't it? But will it happen? Will it happen? Just a final question. I mean, if you're a big Mason Mount fan, probably just stop watching now. But last question, okay, you got to put a number in the chat. What do you think is the most games in order that Mason Mount plays? How many starts do you think he gets in a row? Most consecutive starts next season for Mason Mount. What do you reckon? Put a number in. So put a number in. Most consecutive starts. I don't know if Helgi's still in the chat. I don't know what his record is for Man United, but what's his most consecutive starts? Because then it's not me saying it. So that's the first one I saw. It made me laugh. Okay, one. One start. Again, like Mason Mount fans, just look away or mute it. This is not an attack on Mason Mount. If he can play like 8 games in a row, like Tommy says, then that's good. So 10 games and he's gone. Yeah. The other question was going to be how many games can he play without getting injured? But I don't want to jinx it as well. But in a row, say 3. No, does he play 8 in a row? Yeah, eight in a row. No, if you're putting like 8 games for the whole season, then yeah, we need to be. Um, so Mount is fourth choice midfielder, 5 starts. He will be involved in 30 to 40 games. I'm going to say this, Yardie. I don't think we can count involvement. If he comes on for less than 10 minutes, like that doesn't count for me. I think he needs to be involved. He needs to be involved in like 30 plus games, doesn't he? And even then, if he gets injured in September, I'm gonna do a special stream and get Helgi on to discuss it because he's been saying the same thing for a while. There we go, guys. 9 p.m. tonight, Jules plus guests, or potentially Jules plus nobody, but and plus the comments. But thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. And has he ever played 4 in a row? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Always appreciated. If you're able to subscribe, if you're new, that's massively helpful as well. And big thanks to Sky for becoming a member today. And thanks to the members that support the channel. Keep it going. We are trying to push towards 1K. Can we do it before Man United sign a new player? I don't know, probably not. But thank you for watching and subscribing. If you can share it, that always helps as well. Live at 9 p.m. tonight, Jules plus guests. And BLT Jeff says, I'm happy Carrick getting a shot at this, but this happened to Ollie as well. Got second, then completely not backed. Yeah, and it feels a bit like we're watching part two, doesn't it? So I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Have a good rest of your day. And Almac, yeah, the fact that other players are injury prone is not helpful either, is it? No. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys at 9 p.m. I'll probably be in the comments when Jules is hosting. But until then, have a great rest of your day. If you see any useful Man United news, please share it in the Discord. Always helps as well. And we will catch you guys in the evening stream.